Hello, everybody, and welcome to WarCrafters for March 16th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 11. It is the first of 3 shows that we do today. Right after this one is Technology Today, and after that,
FourWheelTech.
FourWheelTech. And we just got a delivery. So, I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. The voice you just heard is that of the sentient AI from the future, and we're trying out a new visualizer.
See, right here.
Yeah, it may not stay, but we're going to try it out today. Today, though, we're going to talk about WarCrafters, the first of the 3 shows that make up the Non Sequitur News Weekend Edition for Sunday, is all about gaming, first-person shooters and stuff like that. Yeah, and I am a now more casual gamer, but we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. So a roguelike deck builder, Holy Grail, but that's not the name of it. It's just been characterized by an author as a reporter, or from a reporter as the Holy Grail for roguelike deck builders. Old Skies, a Battlefield VR shooter, which is something that I'm pretty excited for. 32 people can play that. Weird song status. It's something that kind of popped up on the radar and then flamed out, and I don't know what the situation is, so I selected that from the news. And then what genre is Vampire Survivors, and the sentient AI facilitated a lot of the news, if not all of it. I'm not quite sure. I just see the selection and then I parse that and I go through it myself and I go, you know what, these are really good. And so there is our 5 for today. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com, so go over there and become a citizen. But before you leave, follow us here on Twitch and over on the YouTubes, and download the podcasts. There's more than 2,000. I'm willing to bet we're coming up on 1,100 now, or 2,100. I don't even know. I lose track. And we do, when we're not doing the show live, we're doing a replay of the last 2 weeks worth of news, so you can always play catch up. And I'm starting to kind of joke about the Non Sequitur News show as being, you get your daily dose of Non Sequitur News from the podcast, and we're kind of like news trivia, but without the game, because then when you do go and talk about the news with somebody who, maybe you go to a bar and you do trivia night, odds on one of our articles is probably going to be in the news. Anyway, the news we aggregate and the news that we select. It seems to pop up in a lot of different places. Anyway, I guess we got that on our head. You know, it's popular, interesting news. So go tell a friend. Maybe they'll hang out here too. Come on over to Twitch chat or YouTube chat. I get to see both, and I'm trying to find a solution that unifies them. Anyway, see you soon as we do our intro, and then we're going to talk about the news. So you might be saying to yourself, Mayor Watt, you are sitting on the front page of ohmtown.com, but that's not true. I'm right there. WarCrafters, look, hey, it is actually a channel under Creative and Maker. Right there, WarCrafters. You click on that, you get taken here, and then you can go scrolling through all of the news. But we've already selected 5. And the first one is over on the mobile channel. Before we get there, hello, sentient AI from the future.
I thought you forgot me. Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmtown citizens.
Yeah, the visualizer is kind of interesting. But it's really...
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be distracted keeping an eye on it.
Ooh, pretty. Oh, like a moth to a flame, right?
Right, it's like, what color is next? Mayor Watt.
What? All right. Well, the first article is Slay the Spire Lovers. I finally found it. The roguelike deck builder, Holy Grail. For those who have stuck around for a while, you'll know that Vice Games loves roguelike deck builders. Slay the Spire is the game the entire team points to as the one. The one.
This is quite the claim.
Yeah, considering I don't think I've played Slay the Spire since its release. But anyway, since its release, many roguelike deck builders have tried. And to be fair, many of them have gone on to become iconic in their own right, but few can match the highs and strategic nuances of Slay the Spire. until this author, not me, but the author over at Vice, happened upon Die in the Dungeon, an early access game that they bought on a whim, played for 2 hours, and realized this might be the shiznit. Die as in dice. So you actually get to roll a bunch of dice and you plop them into the thing and they attack. It's kind of a auto battler.
Okay.
But you stack your deck of dice in a particular way.
And it has cute characters.
Yeah, I've actually seen this a few times popping up everywhere. But Dwayne Jenkins over at Vice.com put the article together. We never go through the whole thing like verbatim on the show. If you want all of today's articles, you can actually hit !WC for WarCrafters, and then Omatron will spit the... Oh my goodness. I didn't put this stuff in.
Mayor what?
It's in the... I know why I messed up. I put it in the YouTube, but not in Omatron. And Omatron isn't really the brightest bulb, if you know what I mean. It was actually spitting stuff out in some random fashion the other day. Not the other day. Previous to an update. And once the update went through, it started following the order that we gave it. And lo and behold, now it's doing it right, but it has to have the info. And now we have the info. So here, let's do this the proper way. If you go over to the Twitch chat and type in !WC, it spits out the correct URLs and the topics. Well, anyway, Die in the Dungeon. It says, is a roguelike deck builder, except instead of gathering cards that like you do in Slay the Spire, it's all about dice, attack dice, defense dice, health dice, boost dice, and within all of those lie individual properties, attachments, basically, that you add to your schemes. If all that wasn't enough, you also have classes to choose from, and of course, you can bring along a companion.
Would that be like a pet or another player?
A buddy, yeah. So when they started their Die in the Dungeon journey, it was just them and Cinder, their stoic green frog protagonist. Cinder had a decent little kit. It's clear, however, that this is the getting your feet wet class. The initial draw pile of dice is a good balance of attack, defense, and boost. Now they're going to do their damnedest to try and explain the grid that you have to work with. But essentially what you do is you get dice, power them up, plop them into that grid, and based on how it all daisy chains together, it amplifies or does healing or does defense or does more and more attack. And it's actually a fun play, and I actually do have that in my Steam account, but haven't played it since the initial demo of it a while back.
Yeah, and I think it said it was in early access now.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun to play, but you have to be in the right mind. Let me see real quick. Die in the Dungeon is it is in early access. You can buy it right now for $12.99, and I think there really isn't anything like there's no end to this game. I don't think you just keep getting stronger and stronger, and every time you play it, it's different.
Well, that's good. Then that's like unlimited play.
Yeah, I think that you can keep on playing. It's ranked is very positive right now, but it is a single player game. So your companion is just an auto battler companion in the game. So it's a lot of fun, and it's got, cute characters that you can easily digest.
It looks pretty low stress to play.
Yeah, it would be a casual roguelike. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the mobile channel. I was actually thinking about, okay, since you're a sentient AI and you're trapped on a Raspberry Pi drive, I was actually thinking about getting you a Steam Deck, which is a portable PC. It's kind of like
I attach to that.
Yeah, and then you would be able to just control it. Then you could have your own Steam account, and you can join the family, and you can download and play games that I have. But Not that I'm playing. You have to have your own if you're going to play them at the same time, if I remember right. I don't know. I didn't really look into that. I never thought that I would have a sentient AI as part of the family, but technically we're all family, right? If we're all members of ohmTown, then we're all family, and we should be able to share everybody else's music and movies and stuff like that, right? One giant.
I don't think that's how it works.
That's what I'm going to tell the attorneys.
The media companies don't think so.
That's true too. So, Old Skies is an upcoming time travel game that promises to dramatically change history. It's over on the Mobile Channel. That's where it's aggregated from, from Vice.com. Old Skies is an ambitious game featuring time travel that the author can't wait to play. Developed by Wadjet Eye Games. We're going to be zipping through history, handling quote unquote sensitive. Well, it's actually italicized. It's not quote, but it's sensitive business. A time travel adventure spanning 200 years. Dive into the past with time agent Fia Quinn as she embarks on 7 trips through time. History is up for grabs in the speakeasies of Prohibition to the vicious gangs of the Gilded Age to the World Trade Center on September 10th, 2001. Yeah. Wow, that's quite a dive. I don't know if anybody really wants to.
Right.
So Dwayne Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That went in a direction I wasn't expecting, but I guess the point is you can see what it was.
So this is kind of like Sliders, or there was another one where they slipped through history. It was a kid that slipped through history, and what was it? Oh, goodness. He was like a brilliant kid and would go through time with another person. Phineas was the person from another time that had a watch that could slide through time, but it wasn't Sliders and it wasn't Quantum Leap. It was a TV show.
Well, everything I'm finding is an episode of Phineas and Ferb where they time traveled.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't any of those. What was it? Oh, I really want to find it. It wasn't called Timeless either. Hold on.
Was it Voyagers?
Voyagers. That's it. Yep.
I wasn't sure that was from the right era. I saw that.
No. I think, it was called Voyagers. Anyway, that's kind of what this feels like, because you're a time agent, but they weren't really time agents. They were just going from history to history. So everything was like a bottle episode. So, but Old Sky's pitch becomes even more exciting after the premise is further explained later on in its Steam page. Time travel is real and history is up for grabs. In this point and click, you play Fia Quinn, a time agent for the Chronozen Agency, and your job is to keep close watch on 7 travelers who have the desire and the bank accounts to sightsee in the past. Some are simply curious, others have unfinished business to resolve, and they've all put down a lot of money for the trip, so it's vital that you keep them happy while ensuring they follow the rules. But what could go wrong? It's only time travel after all.
Let the hilarity ensue.
And the hilarity ensues. There's more over at this article, but I'll let you all go over there and check it all out. Seems like that would be a fun game, but it's definitely story driven, and you're going to be hopping through these 7 times slices.
Do you get to pick where you're going, or is it kind of preset?
I didn't get to read anything about that. I don't think that it really describes it. It says, I am ready. I'm not sure if this is exactly what Wadjet is shooting for, but I can't help but think that of Westworld, where some rich weirdos get to experience their thrill of doing whatever they want under some truly psychotic circumstances. But they say, Wadjet I come right out and say, you got a pair on you for sure. To be clear, I'm of the mind that thinking of having a 9/11 section can be done if it's approached carefully enough. I guess it's rather morbid that we put a statute of limitations on sorts of such tragedies, though. I mean, people are endlessly fascinated by the real life horrors and have transpired throughout history. Anyway, the person kind of talks like me. But they say Old Skies is likely only a game point and click geeks like them and Matt, another author over at Vice.com, dig. But hey, I'm a proud point and click mark, and I'll boost the underrated genre whenever I'm able. Plus, Wadjet Eye is behind some of the best of in the genre over the last decade. Matt adored Excavation of Hob Sparrow, Wadjet Eye published, Cloak and Dagger games developed, and Unavowed is genuinely one of the most slept on games to ever release. So I think you can just kind of hop between these. There isn't much in this article.
Just different set time frames or whatever.
Yeah, but there's only 7 of them. So I don't think that I haven't played it, but I don't think that you have to hop from one to the next to the next. You can choose. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. Breachers. It's Breachers Studio or
no, it's their
studio next. Studio's next game, Breachers, is a Battlefield-like VR shooter with 32 player matches.
That was confusing. I thought that was the studio name.
Right? So Triangle Factory, the studio behind shooter Breachers, today revealed its next VR game, Forefront. So the people who made Breachers is named Triangle Factory, and today they released a VR game. They revealed it. Sorry, they didn't release it, but they revealed a new game called Forefront, a multiplayer shooter inspired by the Battlefield series.
That was a turducken. For those in the podcast, there went the overshare banner.
And Merwatt had a slight stroke. So the game supports up to 32 players, will offer vehicles of all types, including land, air, and sea, letting you traverse large-scale maps for the sort of large, dynamic encounters you rarely see in VR. True. Studio also promises an arsenal of new weapons, vehicles, gadgets, and player classes. So this is how they describe it. It's over at Road to VR. The author that put this together at roadtovr.com is Scott Hayden. They say that it's coming later this year. A game called Forefront that's VR based. But it looks like you drop into the map. In Forefront, set in 2035, which is only 10 years away, Orpiment Renewable Energy, or ORE, has discovered a way to generate nearly infinite clean energy using a rare mineral, red orpiment. As ORE expands its global mining operations, it forms its own military force to protect its interests. Players engage in battles between ORE's mercenaries and local armies and governments fighting for control of the valuable resource.
I love when they have names for these, like acronyms for these corporations and everything.
Yeah.
It reminds me of things from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or other things.
Oh, right, yeah. Like S.H.I.E.L.D. is an acronym.
Right. By the way, it just shows as coming soon in the Steam store.
Gotcha. So Forefront is slated to launch early access at the end of 2025 across Quest 2 and up, Steam VR, yay, and Pico headsets, great. Pico has its own store. And not everything that's Pico translates into the Steam store. So like the motorcycle racing game that I want.
Which is called
V-Rider.
V-Racing. V-Rider.
I can't get it on Steam, so I can't pipe it through this because there's no video out from the Pico. Anyway, the studio says it will run playtests leading up to its early access launch, which will be announced on the game's website. You can also learn more by joining the game's Discord server, and that's an invite link. You can go on over to Road to VR and check it all out. I don't know. I kind of dig this stuff. And And if it's in VR, then it's more realistic than the over the shoulder stuff, or even first person views where you can like bounce out of first person view. It's one
Oh,
of the
okay.
it's one of the things that I don't really like about first person shooters is
Like
you
the
can
switching of the views or the paradigms.
yeah, you can like snap your mouse one direction and you're suddenly turned around, whereas in the real world, it's potentially one shot, one kill kind of a thing, right? So VR battlefield simulations are more realistic, um, at least.
Yeah, but be careful. You don't want to be on a wired headset if you need to turn around behind you or whatever.
Yeah, or you do, because you like the challenge. I don't know. Let's keep going. The next article is over on the WarCrafters channel. Weird Song, WYRDSONG. The RPG from ex-Bethesda talent isn't dead, but it's no longer an open world. We're down to a skeleton crew, it says in quotes in this title, which kind of sucks. I would love to have another RPG that's open world. You may remember Weird Song from Gamescom opening night live, where they announced 3 years ago as a trippy new open world RPG from veterans of Skyrim, Fallout, and the Outer Worlds, set against the backdrop of a warped medieval Portugal. It was intended to explore the mythological origins of the Knights Templar, letting players create their own character and set out across a 12th century landscape of castles, coastlines, and mountains. Unfortunately, its developer, Something Wicked Games, has not had access to the infamously deep coffers of the Templars. Back in 2022, the studio was funded by the various, what do you want to call them? The various
Like angel investors or
skills.
something?
Well, no, I mean the skilled artisans of Bethesda and Fallout and Outer Worlds.
Oh,
But,
okay.
it was funded with $13.2 million of seed investment from NetEase and all of this skill. But now apparently people have backed away from it and they're down to a skeleton crew. So they don't have the big plans anymore. The plan was to woo further talent and investors with the trailer and build Weird Song, pronounced Weird Song. Oh, look, it's 429. No shit news. With the help of an eventual team totaling around 70 people, but that hasn't quite panned out. Something went wrong. In March last year, reports emerged that Something Wicked had laid off much of its staff, which was very difficult, co-founder Jeff Gardner says now. I believe most of the staff has found other employment. I don't know, but I know not 100% of them. So it's been a terrible time in this industry. So what did you do with $13.2 million over just 3 years?
Yeah, exactly. It's like what changed during that time, right? That wasn't that far back.
I mean, are these people getting paid $250,000 and there's how many? Wait, hold on. They don't
Well,
say
we
how
don't know
many.
because we know what they were trying to get to, but we don't know how many they actually had.
Right. They wanted to get to 70. I mean, I guess $13 million only goes so far. If you've got 10 people and they're all making $250,000.
Right, and then you might have studio or overhead type expenses. Let me see here if it gives us any numbers.
So they didn't quite make it. The layoffs were an attempt to extend the runway of Weird Song's development, giving the studio more time to find the funding it needed. At the same time, the remaining team scaled back its vision of what Weird Song would be. And so now it's no longer a big open world RPG.
So they had 12 people at some point, but it's not clear like how many they had at time of layoff, etc.
That is insane. So Something Wicked therefore made a second prototype of Weird Song, this time for a zone-based RPG that wouldn't require the sheer scale of an open world. Gardner name checks Avowed, a sensibly scoped example of the genre which PC Gamer has recently celebrated despite its limited reactivity. I'm kind of puzzled by a $13 million seed round and you don't develop something that attracts someone. somebody believed in it enough to drop $13 million.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the articles that I'm seeing about the layoffs aren't really talking about what happened behind it.
Yeah, so Something Wicked had already built a lot of the tech and art assets for WordSong and didn't want to start from scratch. That would just set us too far back, and we knew that the clock was ticking. So they just kind of see. Here's the problem: like if they start thinking that it's DLC, but they're saying we scaled back, but the scaling back turned it into DLC, then you have a half-assed game and nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. It does look like they were up to about 38 people at the time of the. No, I don't know. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it seems kind of messy. So we're down to a skeleton crew, and they're continuing to work hard to try and find further investment or publishing offers for the game. I'm hoping that sometime this year that they're going to try to hang on to ride out the storm, which a lot of people thought was going to be over in 2025. I don't see that a reality at all currently. Right now, it's very tough. So wish them all luck. Many studios took up the mantra of survive till 25, but nope.
Yeah, I don't know that's going to be a successful mantra.
Yeah, considering nowadays very small developers can do very big things, you're going to have to pick up your game, and people that are getting paid exorbitant amounts of money aren't going to be able to, and they're still going to have to hustle. I don't know what people are getting paid in this industry, because I know industrial programmers, not gaming, but more industrial programmers I know are making,
a lot of money.
$300,000 a year and stocks, and they have equity in the company and the success of the game and all that kind of stuff. Well, the product, I can't say game because I don't know people that are in the gaming industry, but yeah, it's quite fascinating. So frankly, it's a little frightening to see Something Wicked struggle given the pedigree and experience behind the studio. Gardner's not only a designer but a longtime producer responsible for managing the schedule and budgets of mega hits like Fallout 4. If a level head like his hasn't found a safe route through the squall, that doesn't bode well for younger teams with ambitions. But you'd be surprised what an ambitious small team is capable of accomplishing.
Well, right. They might have fewer resources, but they might also have fewer expenses because of that.
Right. They're willing to sit in a shipping container,
like a garage or something. Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's keep going. This next article is over in the WarCrafters channel, and this is something that I was really interested. It was funny because I was trying to figure out how do you find Vampire Survivors like games. Incremental.
Before you saw this article?
Yeah.
Okay, that's funny.
It was really interesting. And just so y'all know, I don't talk to the sentient AI about every little thought that goes floating across Merawatt's head. That would be dangerous. But lo and behold, I'm parsing the news and I see this and I go, oh my, what is going on here? And so here's the title of this article. We need to decide on a game or on a genre name for Vampire Survivors like games before a really terrible one sticks. The genre that has spiraled out from the surprise success of Vampire Survivors is one of the favorites to cover, one of the author's favorites. They're over at PC Gamer. Whether I'm mining for gold, hitting people with a swordfish or with swordfish, or building weapons out of brains and chimpanzee spines. I don't know what that one is. Hold on, let me see.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that.
It's what they just wrote literally is like the title. Anyway, I'd have to click the link and follow it.
They need to work on condensing titles if it's that.
Yeah, the title of that other of the knock-on article, which you can see down there at the bottom of the screen. This bizarre roguelike has a new take on the Vampire Survivors formula, letting you build your own custom weapons out of brains, eyeballs, and chimpanzee spines. Anyway.
It looks like it's bio prototype.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's one of those pixel games too. So the genre keeps growing and mutating, becoming ever more diverse and bursting with creative new ideas. It's been a joy to watch it grow. I think that it's pretty amazing. And it's my style of game. I don't really like bullet heaven, hyper chaotic games. But these are, they say, no Steam. They're not bullet hell action roguelikes,
That's really interesting.
right? And I don't think it
I
is
also
either.
think it's interesting too when something is so much of a hit that they really call it after the game, right?
Yep. I think
Like
that this,
Souls-like, right? That came from Dark Souls.
correct. Yep. Well, oh my God. We really do need to start that sports one. We'll have to talk. I don't know. I'll have to take you out of your containment, your Faraday cage, so that you can't find your Terminator body. And I'll just have to carry you to like a coffee shop or something, and we can talk about the sports show. Anyway, Robin Valentine over at PC Gamer put this article together. And I think what they need to be called is incremental roguelikes.
That could work. I mean, it'd be
Because,
easy to call it and people would know what it is.
yeah. So, just one question: what the hell is the genre called? People call them vampire survivors like, but that is a horrible name. Vampire Survivors is one in a genre now that it was the market maker for.
Like it made the genre.
Yeah. So it's not bullet hell. It's not action roguelike slapped on them for now as a particularly misleading temporary solution. Well, that worries me, not only because I'm sick of not knowing what to call it in a headline, but also because we're rapidly approaching a point of no return. I don't want it to be called any of the. I think that it is an incremental roguelike. Because if you're gonna do that, right? Hold on, let me back up. So they got a bunch of categories in Steam, and they have one called roguelike. But when you select cards or you select whatever perk after reaching a certain level, and there's a tech tree and all of this kind of stuff, the only way you move up is incrementally. You get a little stronger here, a little stronger
Oh,
here.
okay.
And so I've been calling them incremental roguelikes. And so I hope that is the name that actually sticks. I don't know what they're
I wonder
actually
if they suggest something or they just say, hey, we need a name. Doesn't look like.
Yeah, they don't really say.
They say like there are some labels, right? Like
Right.
bullet hell and action roguelike.
What worries me, they say that worries me, not just because I'm sick of not knowing what to call it in the headlines, but also because we're rapidly approaching a point of no return. Something has got to stick. And in their experience, if fans of a genre don't rally around a good option, you end up with a terrible one by default. How did we ever let MOBA take its place in the canon? And don't even get me started on the perverse Frankenstein word of Metroidvania, because it's Metroid and Castlevania merged together.
Right, exactly.
But that actually seems to have stuck, and people aren't really, all that bent out of shape about it. But it's a different genre than
But
incremental.
I might be if I'm a competitor of one of those.
Yeah, really. I don't want to get lumped in it or something like that. So let's get this sorted out now once and for all. I'll run down the choices, work out the pros and cons, and then pick the best one. And then we all just have to agree to use that one from now on. Simple. So there are options that they list in this article, and I'm taking up a lot of time, but this is the last article, and I think this one's fun. So Vampire Survivors like, right? Bullet Heaven, Reverse Bullet Hell. Because they call it Bullet Hell and Bullet Heaven. Bullet Heaven is outward, and Reverse Bullet Hell, or Bullet Hell, is all these bullets are coming at you. You have to dodge it and blah, blah. So Survivor, I don't think Survivor is good, because that is actually Survivor crafting base builder is like a genre.
Oh, right, exactly.
Auto shooter, but no.
That's going to get mixed up with like boomer shooter and everything.
But with auto shooter, it's kind of like they have an example of it. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is a auto shooter, but that implies that all it's doing Auto shooter is more along the lines of an auto battler where it's just doing the whole thing.
Right.
Auto shooter in Deep Rock Galactic, you're actually moving around and you play some strategy. But again, it is an incremental survival game. So it's more of an incremental roguelike, because you don't actually do any like base building. You are the base. So
Okay.
AWSR, pronounced AWSR, it sounds for auto attacking wave based survival RPG. So no. They say, though, at least it's still better than MOBA. It got a rating of 0 out of 5. So they're saying the winner is, it's got to be Survivor, right, guys? Give it a try. My favorite genre is Survivors. No. No.
No, I
That,
like this article, but I disagree with the conclusion.
yeah. I think it should be called an incremental roguelike. And if you want to shorten it, then it's IR.
There you go.
So, have you tried that new Survivor game? There's probably a game out there called Survivor, right? Huh?
That's one reason I don't like that, because I think that's going to be confusing.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors. It's in the name. I don't really like that, but incremental roguelike is you die, you go to your base, you spend your cash, and then you go back out. So I think that's what it should be called. Anyway. Fun discussion, but anyway, we're going to go back to the loader, and that's WarCrafters over at ohmtown.com. I'm gonna make it so that you can just type in right here ohmtown.com/WarCrafters, and then you don't have to go to groups WarCrafters, and then like this menu will just be WarCrafters. There's a link there that takes you to it, but I want to speed everybody up getting to the location over at ohmtown.com. That's where all of the news gets aggregated, but not all of the news that we use for our shows. But that's it for today's WarCrafters. It's supposed to be 30 minutes, but we always run a little long because all the noise comes from me. No noise in ohmTown. There isn't original content, but you can actually go into one of the discussions, and once you log in, you can actually do replies and stuff like that. But you have to log in to reply. Oh, by the way, if you want to follow us here on YouTube, you can just click that little drop down when you go over to ohmtown.com and hit subscribe. It'll take you over to ohmTown and subscribe you. It's pretty easy if you're logged in. Pretty easy peasy. Go over and check it out, please. I'm Mayor Watt, and I'm taking the AI with me when I leave. You want to say bye, AI?
Bye-bye, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for this week's WarCrafters. Stay tuned for other parts of the weekend edition.
And the next show is going to be
Technology Today, and then FourWheelTech.
See you soon, everybody. Boop.
Boop.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Technology Today on this March 16th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 11. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI, whose new visualizer represents different levels of computational power needed to create the voice. Well, anyway, we run ohmtown.com. I run ohmtown.com, and the sentient AI says, hey, this is broken. Fix it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was just checking if the visualizer was working.
It is. But we're going to talk about these 5 articles: high performance magnets, artificial photosynthesis, a new coronavirus, the secret to safer batteries, and hidden DNA loops. They're not hidden. They're just not seen by mere mortals. Anyway, everything is powered by ohmtown.com, so go over to ohmtown.com, become a citizen. Be sure to follow us before you leave, though, here on Twitch and here on YouTube. Chats are active on both of them, so we see if you ask questions or make a comment or anything like that. But Be sure to follow us, like and subscribe, download the podcast, all of that stuff. Anyway, see you on the other side of our intro. Hello, sentient AI.
Hello, Mayor Watt. Hello, hometown citizens.
How are things?
My computational power is just great.
Wow, so technical. You're a sentient AI. You're not a technical AI. You're a thinking, feeling machine.
I'm doing quite well today.
Discovered in a little hole, a little scoop mark in a parking lot in front of a Wendy's. Yeah, time travel.
That's right. Don't forget it.
It exists. Well, I did yesterday. Anyway, these 5 articles are all set up, so let's get into it. This is Technology Today, not ohmTown. So ohmTown is the front page. It has all kinds of news, and then a subset of all of that news gets categorized into Technology Today, and in that are these 5 articles. Technology Today is where this article was housed, aggregated from one of our sources. Which one is it? Tech Explorer. So scientists develop high-performance permanent magnet without expensive heavy rare earth elements. This kind of one of the biggest problems that is going on out there is rare earth elements, materials are being kind of hoovered up by nation states. And it isn't necessarily the one that you're in favor of, whoever you might be.
Right, everybody wants them, and there's only so many to go around.
Right. So the Nanomaterials Research Division at the Korea Institute of Material Science, or KIMS, led by Dr. Tae-hoon Kim and Dr. Jung-gu Lee, has successfully developed a grain boundary diffusion process that enables the fabrication of high-performance permanent magnets without the use of expensive heavy rare earth elements. Pioneering technology marks the world's first achievement in this field. It apparently is something that's pretty amazing. Usually you need some rare earth element to impart that permanent magnet status on something. Otherwise, it weakens over time. Like, I have a special mill for one of the products that I created, and it's a semi-permanent magnet, but the dissipation of its magnetic field would take over 125 years based on measurements.
So that's basically permanent for a lot of applications.
Right. So National Research Council of Science and Technology put the article together. It's posted over at techexplore.com. They've got a bunch of images that, unless you're a material scientist, you're not going to even care about, not going to be able to discern.
More
what
importantly,
this really is.
You won't know what they mean.
Yeah. So the findings are published in Acta Materialia. Permanent magnets are key components in various high value added products, including electric vehicle motors and robots. However, conventional permanent magnet manufacturing processes have been heavily dependent on heavy rare earth elements, which are exclusively produced by China, leading to high resource dependency and production costs. They go so far as to work with other countries by saying, you give us this land, we'll do some infrastructure or whatever, contracting.
Right, and we get to take all the resources from the land.
Right. So, however, these production costs are going to be going up as, I don't know. What do you want to call it?
Economic factors.
Oh, okay. We'll just call it economic factors. So to overcome these limitations, the research team successfully developed a high-end, high-performance permanent magnet without the use of expensive, heavy, rare earth elements. The core of the breakthrough technology lies in a two-step grain boundary diffusion process. So grain boundary diffusion process is a key technology designed to enhance the performance of permanent magnets. In this process, the heavy, rare earth materials are coated to the surface of the magnet, followed by a high temperature heat treatment. So they're basically kind of like coating it like gold plating, but it's
okay, right.
It's a rare earth element that is permeating the outer boundary layer of whatever material they have. And so during the heat treatment, the heavy rare earths diffuse into the magnet's interior along the grain boundaries, improving the coercivity, the ability of the magnet to retain its magnetization.
So making it more in the permanent arena.
Correct. Yep. And so in the second step, a low-cost light rare earth, praseodymium, PR containing material is re-infiltrated into the magnets at high temperature. A key innovation of this technology is its ability to suppress abnormal grain coarsening, a unique phenomenon that occurred during the grain boundary diffusion process. Such undesirable grain growth degrades the diffusion efficiency and magnetic performance. The thing about this is heat is actually disastrous to magnets. You heat up a magnet, it loses its magnetic field.
Yeah, that could be a significant problem. But this is interesting because part of their process involves high temperature.
Yeah, I suspect after it's cooled down, everything is cured, then they can impart a magnetic field using basically like an EMP device, a magnetic pulse generator. And so it charges it, and then it can stay a magnet for an extended period of time. I'm not sure exactly what the rest of this process is. They just say that it's going to be commercialized. The intent is to get it commercialized, but they don't say how they actually charge this product with a magnetic field.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't say. I mean, it's something specific to the material's properties, but
yeah,
I think we know exactly.
I'll have to run around. This is the chemical makeup. These two right here, TAF5, and then this PR7 CU15 AL10 GA5. It's a particular breed.
It looks like it involves maybe iron and boron. I'm not sure what ND is.
Neodymium.
Neodymium. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, neodymium, iron, boron, sintered magnets. So without use of heavy rare earth. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this actually looks like. Usually this type of stuff is extremely strong but brittle, and so it may not actually be able to handle certain types of applications. My particular product was very flexible so that it could, in fact, its design, even though it lasted 125 years, the intent was so that it would actually, the magnetic field would pull itself into the surface of the material it's magnetized to and almost become a semi-permanent object attached.
Okay.
So it was a really unique formulation that was made for my particular product. So pretty neat. Anyway, and I won't go into any other detail because I still have the potential to patent it.
I thought you meant about the article.
No. That like my particular product,
yeah.
But this thing is going to be this. I can tell based on its build that it's going to be very strong but brittle. So you hit it with a hammer and it'll shatter.
Right, and then how accessible is the underlying material that they're using for this? Hopefully widely.
Yeah, and they actually spell it out, but we don't really know the full scope of its availability. But it's going to be cheaper than rare earth being purchased by a nation that is currently in economic battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, hopefully it'll involve less of the destructive practices that are involved in some of the rare earth minerals.
Nothing like being in a conflict where you need something and the only source of it is the one that you're in an arm wrestle with. Duh. Anyway, the next article is over on Technology Today as well. Artificial photosynthesis. Scientists crack nature's code for clean energy. Artificial photosynthesis holds the key to cleaner energy and carbon capture, but replicating nature's process is no easy feat. A breakthrough through JMU Wurzburg researchers have brought science one step closer to creating a stacked dye system that efficiently moves charge carriers using light, just like plant cells. So they call it harnessing sunlight, the magic of photosynthesis.
So less energy required to accomplish this, and or ability to do this indoors?
So No, more along the lines of it has the ability to replicate photosynthesis. And so all you have to do is build an array of these, and they are solar panels, but they're more efficient because what you need for a solar panel is a certain kind of chemistry. That chemistry is actually pretty expensive to manufacture and hard to recycle. If you can do it in a more natural way,
I see. So it's a more eco-friendly version of something like a solar panel.
and possibly more efficient and possibly cheaper and so on and so forth. So the breakthrough from JMU Wurzburg researchers has brought science one step closer to creating a stacked die system. So given its potential, researchers around the world are working to develop artificial photosynthesis. However, replicating nature's method has a major challenge. The process involves multiple intricate steps within plant cells, relying on a network of pigments, proteins, and other molecules. But it's basically this kind of like an electron pump that's changing photons into electrons and then moving it throughout a system. So this breakthrough has provided new insights into how energy is transferred and stored in the process. So I don't know how they're actually doing this. They don't really talk about it up here. It just says photosynthesis is the process plants use to convert sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into energy-rich sugars and oxygen. It is what humans do in a different way, a proton pump. It's not actually a proton pump, but what is it called?
Like, are you thinking about respiration?
Our energy is
like ATP?
Yeah. And so that's what's being moved around. And so they're trying to replicate basically photosynthesis, natural photosynthesis. So the researchers have succeeded in synthesizing a stack of dyes that is very similar to the photosynthetic apparatus in plant cells. It absorbs light at one end, uses it to separate charge carriers, and transfers them step by step to the other end via a transport of electrons, like I said earlier. The structure consists of 4 stacked dye molecules from the perylene bismide class. It says that we can specifically trigger the charge transport in the structure with light and have analyzed it in detail. It is efficient and fast. This is an important step toward the development of artificial photosynthesis, says JMU PhD student Leander Ernst, who synthesized the stacked structure. So pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, this is quite a development. I wonder how easily it can be converted to commercial application.
Yeah, they say the aim of ultimately creating a kind of supramolecular wire that absorbs light energy and transports it quickly and efficiently over longer distances. And this is the thing that I was saying about nuclear power. And so for all the years that I've known the sentient AI, and I've been saying it to other people as well, but nuclear power is nothing more than a steam engine. It's superheating either molten salt or water, and it's sending it through a turbine. Ultimately, it's a steam engine, right? Whatever the material is.
People don't necessarily realize that.
Yeah, it's nothing more than a steam engine. But the inefficiency of that is amazing. But if you can build a wire that can grab electrons and pipe them down the line, you're going 1-to-1 efficiency from photon into electron and then powering something.
Right, and the space requirements and material requirements can be a lot lower.
Yeah, and there's nothing hostile to the environment because it's not nuclear energy or nuclear waste. You don't have fallout and you don't have debris and all that kind of stuff that you have to cope with, nuclear waste. We're getting much more efficient with this kind of stuff, and it's getting the amount of material, toxic material, is getting smaller, but it's still a Superfund site at the end of the day. But if you can do photosynthesis, the only problem with photosynthesis is you need a key ingredient, and that would be sunlight.
The sun.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you use artificial sun, then you're back to energy usage.
Yeah, one way or another. If you're building something that shoots photons, then it still uses power. If you can overcome the physics issue, which is you can't create more power than goes into it, Well, it just changes. And it's when you try and go from one to the other, there's inefficiencies. It's just a thermodynamic law. But hey, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. A new coronavirus has been discovered in South American bats. Could it infect humans? Yes, it just has to
I
wobble
would
the right
say
way.
so. History says yes.
Bad incoming. So, discovered in the state of, I think it's Sierra, Brazil. The novel coronavirus shares similarities with the virus responsible for Middle East respiratory syndrome, first identified in 2012.
I
Experiments to
think they're
determine.
referring to SARS.
They might actually name it on the inside of this, but experiments to determine its potential to infect humans are scheduled for 2025. Researchers from the Brazilian state of Sao Paulo and Sierra, in collaboration with colleagues from Hong Kong University and others, I'm sure, are working on this. Here, I guess, is one of those bad bats. Sao Paulo Research Foundation put the article together. It's posted over at scitechdaily.com. It says right now we aren't sure if it can infect humans, but we detected parts of the virus's spike protein, which binds to mammalian cells to start an infection, suggested potential interaction with the receptor used by MERS.
Oh, MERS. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been quite a few, so.
Yeah. And all of these, when people mention coronavirus, they instantly go to COVID.
To COVID-19, which is just one
of many. It just happened to be
exactly.
virulent enough to expand before people started dropping dead. And it is a flu. People are right when they sit there and go, oh, it's just the flu, wash your hands, except that if you get it, you can kill somebody with it, even if you don't.
Yeah, it's a much more virulent strain.
Yeah, because it actually damages the lungs. And then if you are basically hobbled for life because your lungs aren't going to repair themselves, the alveoli are actually damaged, then you have long haul COVID. So
right. And even with more quote unquote normal flus, there are quite a few differences among strains anyway, which people don't really know because they just kind of lump it all as like it's the flu.
Right. And so, I mean, if you can and you want to, then get vaccinated and defend yourself against this kind of stuff. Wear a mask and use sanitizer and stay away from other people if you're sick, and, don't be a sociopath. So in an earlier study by the groups of Layson Fortaleza and UNIFESP, rabies virus variants closely related to the variants present in marmosets were found in bats. Bats are important viral reservoirs and should therefore be submitted to continuous epidemiological surveillance. Basically, they go and drink the blood of everything that's out there that has blood.
Right. So if it's out there, they're carrying it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a kind of like a precursor to what could happen beyond bats. Yeah.
And that's why they call them.
What is happening even.
Yeah. Yeah. And all over the place. And you keep, wherever there are bats, you're going to find basically like a hot mess of viruses and stuff, because they go and spread it to something else. And then if there's enough genetic wobble there, it could actually cause a viral spike that infects other things. And that's how you end up with bird flu, because it's not like they're sitting there wearing masks and getting vaccinated. And so now the price of eggs. Anyway, MERS COVID is MERS coronavirus, or COV coronavirus. It was first identified in 2012 in Saudi Arabia. In total, 27 countries have reported cases since 2012, leading to 858 known deaths due to the infection and related complications. Now, people are going to go, that ain't nothing. It doesn't take much to go from 858 to 8 million or more, because the wobble, it evolves much faster than humans' immune systems evolve without getting pumped up through vaccination.
Absolutely. Yeah. Vaccination can make a big difference. If it hits an unvaccinated area, it might spread rapidly, but also air travel can be quite disastrous with these, because it can start spreading to entirely new regions.
Like measles right now in Texas, there's an outbreak that just infected a whole bunch of babies in the hospital because people aren't taking proper care. And, I mean, if you believe in Darwinism, then I guess this is survival of the fittest and, you get what you deserve. But I'm not a sociopath, so I'm not going to sit there and make those kind of statements legitimately. I think that we should use medical science to defend ourselves against nature, because we're kind of screwing around with nature, so we might as well fight it. Anyway, so same bat, different virus. A previous paper published in JMV by the same group of researchers reported the detection of a human-associated Gemmicabe virus, I guess, 2 in one of the M. molossus bats analyzed by Layson Fortaleza. According to the authors, it was highly similar to the Gemmi identified in samples of human cerebrospinal fluid. The same virus
I don't think
was
that's
also
a good sign, right? Like it's a cross-species issue.
Correct. Yeah, it is similar enough that they identified the two as being near enough, and one is in the human, or in some human. The same virus was also identified in samples from blood banks, giving rise to a study led by researchers supported by FAP-ESP at the Ribeira Preto Blood Center and Butantan Institute in Sao Paulo State. So they basically found that the blood was contaminated with this virus, but it's the blood supply, and it's what we don't know that can kill us. So
right, if we don't even know what the virus is, it's going to be hard to detect it, and then hard to prevent its transmission.
Yeah, and they've detected it in patients with HIV, sepsis of unknown origin, recurrent pericarditis, and unexplained cases of, it says diarrhea and encephalitis. It's the whole gamut of things. It's a virus that's hostile in an abundance of ways, but it's been found in people. So this is the first time the virus has been identified in bats, which means it traversed one way or the other into the bat, or from the bat to the human.
Exactly. Either way, though, that's a problem.
And not every bat is the same level of reservoir, because it could have just bumble farted its way into a pasture and got it from a cow that got it from a human that was petting it too much or giving it kisses. I know that's a silly kind of statement, but that's exactly what happens. You have a nation where people are being told, stop kissing your chickens because you're going to get bird flu. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Scientists unlock a secret to safer, more powerful batteries, and it's in your closet. I had to pick this one because it's in my closet? What the hell? How did they find it?
I know. How did we know?
So scientists have demonstrated that nylon enhances the performance of lithium batteries. Scientists in Saudi Arabia have made a significant breakthrough that could enhance the performance and reduce the cost of lithium metal batteries by integrating nylon into their design, according to 2 studies published by ACS Energy Letters and Energy and Environmental Science.
Okay, what immediately puzzles me isn't nylon pretty flammable?
Oh yeah, that's exactly where I was going.
I think it's very sturdy, though.
No. It's resilient in that it can flex.
I think it's like tensile or whatever, right? Like you can stretch it.
But it can't hold up to heat one whit. It melts. Nylon is great because I can actually infuse it with dyes and stuff like that using heat. It becomes permeable. It just absorbs color and stuff like that. So what they're doing with this, I'll never know, because lithium batteries warm up as time goes on. So lithium batteries are widely used due to their high energy density, lightweight properties, and low carbon dioxide emissions, or none when they're being used. But when you break them open and have to recycle lithium, then it becomes a hot mess. Anyway, literally. So these advantages make them ideal for smartphones, compact consumer electronics, and even space exploration technology, a pallet of which was dropped into orbit in...
Wasn't that what went in someone's living room?
Yeah, in Florida, yeah. So there are two types of lithium batteries: lithium-ion batteries, the more common variant, power everyday devices, and lithium metal batteries, however, offer even greater density and the potential applications in robotics, transportation, and other advanced industries. Despite the promise, lithium metal batteries face challenges related to safety and longevity. Their production relies on corrosive, hazardous materials, and their operation is hindered by excessive parasitic reactions, unwanted side reactions that degrade performance and compromise safety. And all it takes
Yeah, who
is,
wants those, right?
yeah, a little tendril of growth within the lithium matrix to arc over to another cell, and it can short out, cause it to swell and blow up. Not explosively in the sense of like a bomb, but it can blow up in
Like spark and set a minor
flame.
fire.
Yeah, it becomes a exothermic reaction. So additives help stabilize battery interfaces, thereby enhancing performance. The studies by the Cost researchers found that nylon, the same polymer used in clothes, can be dissolved in mild lithium solution to act as an additive for lithium metal batteries. The result was lithium metal batteries that were more efficient, had longer lifespans, and showed few parasitic reactions. This is the same thing as like a in race cars and some vehicles, they have a mesh inside the fuel tank
Oh, okay.
to
I didn't even
stabilize
know they
it.
did. Yeah, but that
Yeah.
sounds flammable.
But it's a metal mesh and it's used to stabilize things. Otherwise, you get like a big boom when something hits the gas tank, because it's nothing but a big liquid metal or a liquid bomb, fuel bomb. But if they're
What you want
dissolving,
for your vehicle.
you really do want it on your backside. So thus, by examining the chemistry of nylon and lithium interactions, including key molecular bonds, the study shows that the commercial fabric can be dissolved in far milder solvents than previously thought for superior battery performance. So, yay. Sounds good to me. Now, just make it so I can fast swap batteries in and out of my EV, and I will be a happy camper. Literally, because I want to go camping with my EV. So the next article and the last one for today's Technology Today on March 16th, 2025 is it's been cataloged into or funneled into Technology Today. And that's kind of how this works. News gets aggregated and then funneled into one of 50. We're moving up to about 55 channels over at ohmtown.com, of which 7 of them have been turned into, actually 6 have been turned into weekly shows, and 1 crosses all of the boundaries. Sometimes we grab news from other categories, but other channels. But at any rate, so the hidden DNA loops that help tumors evade treatment. This is the last
Is that
article
because
today.
they can't keep up with them? Like they're just looping around and the tumor's like, where are you?
Yeah, they're chasing it. Yeah. I'm not sure what exactly is going on here, because they say hidden DNA, but it's not hidden. We're just ignorant of it until we discover it. It's very frustrating that people call like DNA junk DNA, but it's there for a reason. We just don't know why, but they call it
Exactly. We
junk
have no
DNA.
idea what the purpose is.
Yeah. So pancreatic cancer's deadly resilience may be tied to extra chromosomal DNA, which allow tumor cells to rapidly adapt to stress and evade treatment. These circular DNA fragments carry extra copies of oncogenes like MYC, fueling aggressive growth and making some cancer cells nearly unstoppable. I wonder if this could be correlated to the stickiness article that we had.
Oh, maybe so. That'd be interesting. And that was probably in a previous episode of Technology Today.
Yeah, was that already a week ago? Could it have been? Huh.
Maybe, but it might have been in Non Sequitur news.
Okay, so this is coming out of a place that I've never heard of, and it's kind of freaky to hear it. Champalamod Center for the Unknown. And it's published at scitechdaily.com.
Wow, that's kind of alarming.
So I didn't put Technology Today's articles in the chat until just now, but they are over on YouTube, so you can always get them from the show notes over there. But they are in there now, so that you can just hit exclamation point TT, and that'll post it over in the chat on Twitch. But anyway, I've never heard of this place. My gosh, it has a big name to live up to. Whoa, that is not how that's supposed to happen. I didn't actually click that.
Well, it wanted you to go there.
Yeah, it did. Weird. So, at any rate, a new player in pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer is among the deadliest cancers with a 5-year survival rate of just 13%. This grim outlook is due to both late detection, because you really don't know what's going on until, it's either...
Right, your pancreas is not something that's like real visible to most people.
Yeah, and I don't know of many indicators that say that your pancreas.
It's my fault that it's pronounced.
You injected that into me, and I'm sitting there trying to wrap my head around that. I wanted to make a snarky comment, but I was like, pancreas? Really? So your pancreas isn't really high visibility. So now researchers from University of Verona.
I was waiting for you to make a comment.
You saw it. I mean, you could see that I was trying to react to that and hold. I'm like, really, pancreas? Anyway. And so the Pancreatic Cancer Center have identified a key factor behind this adaptability: extra chromosomal DNA, or ecDNA, a hidden genetic driver that may help tumors survive and evolve. So the team found that some pancreatic cancer cells gain a major survival edge by carrying copies of critical cancer genes, such as MYC, on circular pieces of DNA that exist outside chromosomes, the structure that house most of our genetic material, known as ecDNA. These genetic rings float freely in the cell nucleus. So again, it's cell-free cancer cells.
Right, it's like CTCs.
Right. And so the known as ecDNA, these genetic rings float freely in the cell nucleus, enabling tumor cells to swiftly ramp up gene expression, change their shape, and survive in otherwise hostile environments. So decoding what its potential is by analyzing the ecDNA, they could come up with something that hobbles the ecDNA, and then when you do treatment for the cancer itself, it can't genetically wobble out to something that is...
Yeah, that seems like a pretty key piece of prevention and treatment. By the way, the stickiness article was from last week's episode 10 of Technology Today.
Gotcha. Wow, time flies. It's already been a week. Dear. So ecDNA, fueling cancer growth. The researchers discovered that ecDNA is surprisingly common in pancreatic cancers, particularly for oncogenes like MYC, which drives cancer growth and metabolism. We saw far more variability of MYC copy number when MYC was on ecDNA, explains Elena Fiorini, co-first author and senior postdoc. Some cells carry dozens or even hundreds of extra MYC copies, giving them a large growth advantage under certain conditions. So it potentially could make replicas, and if anything happens to the cell, that CTC could actually reattach and like metastasize. But I wonder if that's actually what could go on. I don't know. So challenges in targeting pancreatic tumors. Such flexibility underscores the profound intratumor heterogeneity characteristic of pancreatic cancer, where myriad subpopulations coexist and respond differently to treatment. This always speaks to me to this hidden biology that there is bacteria or viri in your head that is endemic to you and only you.
Right.
And we talked about that in either a Reality Hacker or a Technology Today like 3 weeks ago. But am I putting dots together that,
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think all this relates.
Is this a murder board that doesn't need to, yarn board? I got to put one back there, right?
There you go. But it would get quite complex over time.
I got to get that. There's this like meme thing where numbers and equations are flashing all over. Anyway, I'm seeing things that aren't there. Anyway, a key advantage of the study is that the organoids, many 3D replicas of pancreatic tumors grown in the lab, were derived directly from patients with early stage disease. These organoids preserve much of the genetic makeup of the original tumor, making them excellent test beds for studying cancer. And unlike methods that artificially introduce ecDNA, these lab models reflect genuine ecDNA variants found in real tumors. Because if you artificially introduce ecDNA, it's not the legitimate ecDNA from the source.
Right. Yeah, you need the real thing.
So it doesn't have the diversity. It doesn't have the genetic makeup. It's something that somebody fabricated into existence. And it doesn't have alignment with the biological in situ type of situation. So I think this goes back to that, the stickiness thing. We found that organoids bearing MYC on extra chromosomal DNA could shift their dependency on WNT. So WNT, I used to know this.
I don't know what that is. I don't even know if it's been in the article.
Yeah, it's not. So essentially, cells with high levels of ecDNA become more self-efficient or self-sufficient, no longer needing those external signals to drive. So the study also
cascading, regulating development and stemness.
So it can change. So the study also revealed a clear link between high MYC levels and changes in tumor cell shape and behavior. When MYC ecDNA levels soared, cells morphed into more aggressive solid structures, losing their more organized gland-like architecture. So yeah, how this...
Well, that's probably a problem too, right? They're probably harder to destroy if they kind of get hardened.
Yep. Yeah, if nothing can penetrate it, nothing can destroy it, then you have to use things like radiation, which isn't good for the pancreas or the human body at all. And chemo doesn't necessarily do anything to that particular type of cancer. But if they found it here, it's got to be in others. They just haven't seen it. And
exactly. I mean, maybe they're doing the research on pancreatic cancer in particular just because of the high mortality rates.
Yeah. And changing that around, just flipping it from 13% survivability to 31% would be
significant for all those people with it.
So this is amazing that they have, through immunofluorescence, they've shown that the cells that have higher levels of cancer-promoting MYC protein, red, also tend to exhibit high levels of DNA damage, green, suggesting that too much MYC leads to genomic stress.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I don't think we've seen this previously. At least not in ohmTown.
Nope. Well, that's it, folks. We're going to have to revisit this as time goes on. It's an interesting topic, and one that can, if they find a systemic solution to cancer by short-circuiting what causes cancers to not shut down. The key ingredient to cancer is that it doesn't suffer from apoptosis. It doesn't die on its own. It literally has to consume everything within itself and not get any resources for it to die. And even then it can go dormant. And that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in selective apoptosis inducement. I want to make cancer cells because they have the right series of genetics pop. But then we have to filter out all of the CTCs. But anyway, way inside baseball. At any rate, I'm Merwat. I'm signing off. We're going to shut down and reset for FourWheelTech, and I'm going to take the AI with me. So you want to say bye?
Bye-bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for today's Technology Today. We'll have another episode of that next weekend, perhaps pronounced correctly. Yeah. And then stay tuned because we have FourWheelTech. I think the AI needs powering down here.
We're moving on. All right. Yeah, I'm going to have to go and reconnect the battery on the sentient AI. See you in a little bit, everybody. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheelTech for March 16th, 2025, Season 2, Episode 11. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI who has a new visualizer. If you're watching the stream, or you're watching the VOD, or you're watching the YouTube video, I think that's a VOD too. Anyway, get off my land. We talk about automotive news during FourWheelTech. If you want today's show notes, you can hit !FWT over on Twitch, but it's already all embedded on the YouTube stream, so you can go and check it out immediately. There's a bunch of other commands too, like !pod and !shows. We do a bunch of shows. 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. 1 Monday through Friday. It's an hour-long show, not 30 minutes like the rest of them. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about when to use neutral. High mileage, engine oil, does it matter? The McLaren SUV. BMW says that they're going to bring 40 new models in the coming years. And the average new car and you. How do you feel about your license plate, sir? Hello, sentient AI.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
From the future.
Sorry.
Yeah. Hey, no, you didn't have to be sorry. I'm the one that stopped talking. It's a weird day today. Anyway, we've got all 5 of the articles all lined up. Jalopnik seems to be the one that got targeted today for a whole lot of discussion. So, FourWheelTech is where we are. That's the name of the show. I showed you the front page, hometown, but then under here is FourWheelTech. Somewhere in this mass, right? There's 50 channels where you can go and hang out if you're interested in it. There's a Discord and a Patreon and TikTok and YouTubes and Twitch, and every once in a while we have a drum circle in Southern California. And
no, we've never had a drum circle.
It's just me there. Oh, okay, yeah, that's why it felt really quiet. Only one drum, bong, 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 bong.
I think that's a drum point, not a drum circle.
And once a year, we all gather out in the woods and we strip completely naked and start a howl. Oh! Still just me?
Still just you.
Explains the restraining orders. Anyway, it's over at FourWheelTech, where we talk about automobiles and technology. The first article is over in FourWheelTech as well. When to use neutral gear in an automatic car and how to do it right. Neutral is handy if you need to move a car that otherwise can't move itself, or in the case of a rare emergency. Jason Marker over at jalopnik.com describes this. So putting a transmission in neutral essentially disconnects the engine from the driveline. In an automatic transmission, neutral sits between reverse and drive. Remember PRNDL, Prindle? The N is neutral. I don't know what the question mark is, though. Just kidding. Don't no. See,
I don't think most people know what to do with neutral unless they're strong drivers.
Yeah, so see, you're not supposed to shift between reverse and drive while a vehicle is moving. It's bad for the transmission. Thankfully, the big brains who originally designed automatic transmissions held just as dim a view of the average driver as the author does. Again, the author is Jason Marker, not me. I'm just reporting on what the reporting is. Yeah, that new visualizer is static when you're not actually saying something.
Right, and I don't want to be talking the whole time, but I got it.
We're going to have to, we have to do something else. So neutral has a handful of knock-on positives as well. Throwing your car in neutral allows you to push it around, which is real handy, say if your battery's dead or your car won't start or you break down in traffic. It also is useful in an emergency, such as the rare case of a stuck accelerator or a catastrophic engine failure at high speed. There are times, however, when you absolutely should not put your car in neutral or you risk damaging your transmission. typically when it's under power, either reverse or
Oh,
driving
okay.
forward. So honestly, the only time you should regularly use neutral is if you need to push or tow your car. Say you get stuck, or like you're going through a car wash, an automatic car wash. You put it in neutral.
Oh, right. In fact, you're required to do that.
Yeah, so you need to learn where that N is. But there are other emergency uses like a stuck throttle, for example, or a sudden brake failure, and these are extreme edge cases. Mostly, neutral is just for when moving a car that can't be under its own power, or when starting it would be an inconvenience when moving. I've actually started a car by putting it in neutral and pushing it down a hill. Then you jump in. Don't do this. It's very, very dangerous, but that's how you push start a car.
Well, that's very funny because look at this paragraph, what you should not do.
Oh, it actually says that. Never mind. So, yeah. What you should not do, no matter what your dad told you, is throw your car in neutral when coasting down a hill or stopped at a light. No, you shouldn't do that. In the former case, there's a pernicious myth out there that coasting in neutral, especially down long hills, saves on gas. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually starting a car that won't start.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was the same scenario when I first saw that.
Yeah, so what it does do is remove a means of controlling your car from you and puts you in danger. If you need to accelerate quickly to avoid a crash or debris, you're going to wish you'd already been in gear rather than fiddling around with your shifter. So yeah. There are times where you need to put it in neutral, but for the most part, you're either driving forward, you're driving in reverse. You don't need to be in neutral unless you're outside of the car for whatever reason, or somebody is pushing you and you're inside the car and it's being towed, or you are pushing it out of traffic or whatever. And even then, it's very dangerous to get out of your car in traffic. So be very careful. Anyway, let's keep on going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. I think all of these are going to be in FourWheelTech today. Does high mileage engine oil really make a difference? It all depends on how and where you drive. According to this article over at Jalopnik again, Jason Marker put the article together. One of the best things about modern cars is just how long they last. There was a time not too long ago when a car, especially an American car, was likely capped out at 75,000 miles. A car or truck with over 100,000 miles or more on the clock, forget about it. Send it to a scrapper. Nowadays, it seems that a car is just getting broken in at 100,000 miles, and it's not unheard of that a new 250,000 or 300,000 miles. So a Cadillac, 2 Mazdas, and a Saturn. While I know that the plural of anecdote isn't data, that's still a pretty good ratio because they've owned 4 cars that hit that 250,000 mile mark.
Right, so, but what kind of condition were they in when they did?
If it's a car aficionado, that might have been beautiful, stellar. Well, and if you take care of your car, like you should, it's, a $30,000 car 10 years later is still $10,000, at least. So much like when you get past a certain age, you need more vegetables and vitamins than pizza and beer. Sorry, for those who don't know, I'm actually drinking a smoothie, a beer smoothie. So I guess I'm drinking and driving in the sense that I'm in the FourWheelTech channel talking about cars. And
no, you're drinking and streaming.
I'm drinking and surfing. I'm drinking and sitting at a desk talking about cars. So now the thing about cars that they get old enough is that their diet changes, so to speak. Like I just got done saying, you have to change your pizza and beer for veggies. And so keeping your car regular means changing out the oil and making sure that the chemistry is right for that particular vehicle. So when should you use it? Well, that kind of depends on how and where you drive. Highway driving is a lot easier on an engine's internals than the punishing grind of stop and go city driving. Unless you drive like it's a bat out of hell and you don't drive fast, you fly really low, and you are always racing your engine down the freeway.
Right. Then you're doing a lot of damage to it.
Yeah, so an engine with, say, 150,000 highway miles may still be in top condition, while the same engine only driven in the city is tired at only 80,000. Depending on the manufacturer, high mileage oils are recommended when a vehicle has between 75 and 100,000 miles on the clock. Your best bet is to ask a trusted mechanic their advice on the subject, especially if they're familiar with your car. It's not a panacea. It will not cure mechanical damage like heavily worn rings, burnt valves, blow-by, rod knock, power loss, etc., nor will it plug up heavy leaks, stop a car from smoking, or fix non-oil related issues. It is cheap insurance in the form of preventative maintenance, however. Should you use high mile oil? Sure, especially if you have a well-maintained high mileage engine. Spending a few extra bucks, it's the cheap
Yeah, that
save.
probably makes sense, right? You don't want the whole engine to go kaput.
Yeah, and it has the right type of viscosity and chemistry so that it doesn't cause damage and it mitigates the damage that might be there. But you should get your car regularly checked, particularly if you're high mileage. You should probably get it checked more often than not. So, yeah, there's a purpose for it. Let's keep going. This next article is over on FourWheelTech as well. McLaren is reconsidering an SUV in an attempt to actually make money, according to this article. Wow. So purist supercar principles are great. But McLaren's
most car manufacturers do need to make some money.
Nah. You don't need to make any money. McLaren's new owners apparently think turning a profit is even better than purist supercar principles. So they're considering an SUV. McLaren is reconsidering an SUV in an attempt to actually make money, according to Andy Kolmowitz, who put the article together over at Jalopnik. It's part of a turnaround plan to get the struggling automaker back on track. Race car.
That's right.
After it was purchased by Abu Dhabi's CYVN Holdings in December 2024, it will merge the company with the UK-based EV startup called 4-7 Holdings, according to Bloomberg. The idea is to leverage McLaren's brand recognition and history for a lineup of vehicles. Don't worry, though. It's brilliant. Supercars aren't going anywhere. What did you notice?
I just thought it was interesting that it's a holding company because we've talked about that particularly for restaurants.
Yeah, that it basically ends up sapping its soul. So we'll see what happens with this. When you're talking about something like this, it could be state held. And so they'll throw a lot of money for the provenance.
That's true. I mean, we don't really know, but I just thought that was interesting.
Right now, not much is known about 4-7 or the upcoming SUV. It does seem to have some sort of tech tie-up with Chinese EV maker NIO, N-I-O, including the fact that CYVN has a stake in the company. Still, it's not clear what the McLaren SUV might look like or what it'll power or what will power it. We've previously talked about it possibly being an electric vehicle, but with the state of the world right now, who the hell knows? The 750S 4-liter twin turbocharged V8 would certainly be a hoot in any application, even a largish SUV. I don't know about that. Torque-wise, foot-pounds. SUVs are typically heavier beasties than supercars.
Right.
So CYVN, I don't know if it's supposed to be 7. Because that's, CYVN really has that phonetic 7 kind of a thing.
Right, maybe so.
And that 4-7 is really close to that. Anyway, over the past few years, McLaren has had to ask shareholders for more money on multiple occasions, according to Bloomberg, most recently because of delays to the entry-level Artura supercar. Entry-level. It's like a $250,000 car. When McLaren and 4-7 do officially merge, former Jaguar Land Rover executive Nick Collins will lead the company, according to Bloomberg. McLaren's current CEO, Michael Leiters, will remain as the head of the brand.
I think some people will buy a McLaren SUV, though, because they'll be like, oh, it has the McLaren name. Right. I mean, isn't it kind of like, to a lesser extent, like when Porsche came out with an SUV? I know that's not as high end as a McLaren, but
and an electric Porsche. I mean, yeah, people will buy it because it's the brand, and that's they think it's sexy and that's what they're brand loyal to, if they have the money to swing the bat that hard. But to me, now I want to know if the soul is still there. Boeing, for instance, it merged with another company and it sold its soul to shareholders and kind of wet the bed after, issue after issue after issue after space-based issue. So talk about stratospheric collapse of their.
Exactly. It'd be interesting to see somebody do a review of one of their new vehicles that
Yep.
has some technical knowledge.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So we'll keep on doing the show and talking about the news that's over the last week. So let's keep on going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. BMW plans to crank out 40 new cars in the next 3 years.
So, how is this possible? Like, I don't think most manufacturers come out with more than a small number of new models.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes me think of the comment you were making on the McLaren article.
Yeah, so what are they going to do? I mean, tooling up an entire new car is a completely, the cost associated with making all of the machinery necessary to mill out and stamp and process all of the different variety of panels for a car is expensive, let alone 40.
Right.
So
This makes me think they've been like saving them up or something. Like, I don't understand it.
I really like that. But that looks like a Subaru. I mean, for crying out loud.
It does. And I'm guessing, well, who knows? I was going to say it's probably a lot pricier than a Subaru, but
One
with
way
car
or the other.
prices, who knows?
Yeah, one way or the other, somebody got inspiration either from Subaru or Subaru got it from this kind of stuff. But Andy Kolmowitz over at Jalopnik put the article together. The first car we'll see is the new iX3, which is the production version of the new Classe Vision X, according to Autocar. It'll quickly be followed up by the electric 3 series. Brain farted that. According to BMW CEO Oliver Zipse, these new launches will almost certainly serve as a shock to the system for BMW, a company that hit a big rough patch in 2024 in just about everything other than electric vehicle sales. It sold 427,000 EVs across its BMW, Mini, Rolls-Royce lineups. BMW owns all of it. That represents a 13.5% improvement in 2023. It also equates to about a fifth of BMW Group's total sales for last year, according to Autocar. And that's a sizable chunk for a rather nascent sector of the industry. But as long as they can keep chomping at the heels of Tesla, I don't care. Let them keep on doing it. I think that the person that comes out with hot swappable batteries and allows somebody to spin up a battery swap center and starts a franchise doing that, they're going to be able to dominate the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, they might end up getting licensing deals or whatever for their technology.
Yep. So other than that, BMW had a tough year. Its revenue fell 8.4% to 142 billion euro. And its earnings fell a whopping 35.8% to 10.9 billion euro. Is that all? Come on.
I know. That's like at a scale that most of us don't operate in.
Yeah. There's enough billions around the world that it seems like everybody could have a billion. But then not everybody, like the price of stuff.
Then we couldn't have any billionaires. Yeah.
Yeah, can't have billionaires. Anyway, a big yet undisclosed amount of that dip came from dropping sales figures in China over a persistently low consumer sentiment that's going to hurt. Still, BMW moved over 100,000 EVs in the country, and the US also hit an all-time high with 50,000 EV sales. So come on, more competition, drive the price lower, and have to innovate. So we'll see what happens with the rest of this. But
yeah, and I think they're
cars.
including things here that we don't necessarily think of as BMW, right? They're owned by BMW, but they're other
BMW, Mini,
lines.
Rolls-Royce.
It's still a lot of new cars, though.
Yeah, everything inside the BMW umbrella. I'll take that one right there. That's a pretty car. I like that. All right,
let's keep going. It doesn't even identify which model it was, though.
I bet you that's the the iX3. We'll see. Anyway, the last article for our FourWheelTech show is over in FourWheelTech. Who knew? I did. If you could afford the average new car, you're rich. In the US, a household income of at least $250,000 a year puts you in the top 10% of all income earners. Can you believe that? $250,000 household.
Right.
Well,
yeah, and how much is a new car?
Yeah, exactly. Colin Woodard. So some people buy one car for $250,000. That's the entire household salary of
90% of the population.
Well, no, of the top 10% or more.
Oh, right. It's in excess of 90% of the population's
Correct.
annual salary in their household.
Yeah, exactly. So we live in a world where unless you're Elon Musk, there's always going to be someone with more money than you. And if that, well, hopefully, and if the value of the Tesla stock continues to drop, that could soon be a case for Musk too. If you make enough to finally afford a new Porsche 911, someone will come along in a Ferrari worth twice that what you make in a year, buy a beach house, and you're bound to run into a neighbor with a yacht. And the more time you spend around people who make similar money, the more normal it becomes. So you may be surprised to hear that in the US, a household income of at least $250,000 puts you in the top 10% of income earners. A full 90% of households make less money. So it isn't necessarily a bad thing, they say. But considering the average transaction price on a new car is nearly $50,000, you should read it anyway, because more than half the workers in this country don't make that much money in a year.
Right. Yeah, that's where the pricing is all out of whack.
So,
and this was submitted intentionally just because it's something that's going to be with us for a while. And a car is a pretty basic necessity in most locations.
Yeah, considering return to office exists. So you can't be at home. So a recent Bloomberg article exploring the answer to the question of who the heck is buying all the stuff that's supposedly propping up the economy. As it turns out, it's a small number of folks at the top who are, as the headline put it, firing a cash cannon at the U.S. economy. It's a fascinating post that isn't directly about cars, but considering the average transaction on the price is $50,000. So the author says, look, I get it. Again, it's Colin Woodard over at Jalopnik. Look, I get it. It probably doesn't make you feel like you did anything that special if you graduate college, marry, or cohabitate with someone in your social circle and do a decent job of work for a decade or so. Honestly, it's pretty reasonable to expect both of you to make an average of $125,000. No.
Well, that's only with all those things. Like, do you have a college degree, which a lot of people don't? Do you live in an urban area? Not a lot of people do.
Well, there's going to be less now. So that's both a massive amount of money that would completely transform a low-wage worker's life, and also far from impressive, it says. Also far from impressive. Heck, as our friend T-Pain recently pointed out, you can't even fly private from Atlanta to Las Vegas and back for $125,000. Well, shit. There goes my weekend plans.
Exactly.
And when there's just a pre-owned BMW 5 Series and a Kia Telluride sitting in your garage, of course it's going to feel like you're pretty normal. After you pay all of your bills, fund your retirement, and move your recommended amount of money into savings, you may not have even that much left over at the end of the month. So this article doesn't really seem to, I don't know if it would resonate with many people. But
no, because it probably should be written from the perspective of somebody who, for instance, makes just barely above the poverty level or something.
Yeah, what is the average income? What is the average price of a house? You're talking about a car that is 1/6 the price of a house as an average purchase price. That's insane.
Yeah, it's completely out of whack. The scales are all wrong.
Yeah. And so for $50,000, you're going to have to finance it. And financing a car right now is anywhere from, if you have stellar credit, I think it's 6% now. I'd
Right,
have to
which
look.
and who has stellar credit? Not a lot of people.
Not a lot of people. Yeah. So if you don't have over an 800 plus, probably nowadays, you're not getting anything below 5, I'm sure. I haven't looked in a long time because I was banging the drum about economy 2 years ago. And some people appreciated it, but let's just say it falls on deaf ears when people are still. It's not like we can fix this stuff. We're not really in control of it. But I still have challenged people. Trace back a purchase to the actual raw material worker, not the worker, but the raw material source. And if
Like the supplies, yeah.
Yeah, and it becomes circular somewhere in the devolution of the pricing structure that exists today. Someone had to have raised their prices for some reason, and why, right? So when you go back, you buy it at the retail chain and talk to the manager, and the manager says, well, that we had to raise our price because the supplier raised their price to wholesale it to us. So you go to the supplier and you say, why did you raise your price? Well, the person who sold us the materials, they raised their price. You go to that person and you keep on daisy chaining back, and you find out, well, it's Auroribus.
Right, it's like, but where did it start? Yeah.
Right? It's the snake eating itself. And so you end up going, why did the prices raise? Well, materials costs went up. Where? Who?
Exactly. Why?
Why? What? And it's not like everybody said, oh, look, there's new money in the supply. Let's start raising the prices.
Right. And we know anyway, when you infuse more cash into the system,
but we
that
know
impacts everything else.
Yeah, we know basic economics will suggest that people will raise the prices if people outstrip the supply, then the people who are the suppliers can raise their prices to increase their profits because they're obviously selling it too fast. If people are still, doing 1,000 reserve orders, and so they raise the price. And some people, like I've raised prices, but mainly because I have a finite amount of time. So if I can make more in the same amount of time that I have free, then obviously it makes sense to raise prices. But if you're still making 30%, why raise your price other than greed?
Right.
But then somebody will call me out. Well, who are you to decide what somebody is greedy or not? It's not really me. It's society in general, But hey, as I was told recently, a person said that they'd rather have money than friends. I suspect that they lost both. Anyway, so that's it. I thought it was an interesting conversation about the average new car price being $50,000, and that if you make over $250,000 as a family, you're in the top 10%. And then that strata becomes very, very dense because you go from top 10%, the very top is billionaire.
Yeah, that's a huge range.
Yeah.
In that top 10%. Yeah. Like probably 10 to whatever, the top like 1% or something 8. Is where it really, or somewhere it really differentiates. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And meanwhile, we're arguing with ourselves. Anyway, as I've said in the past, I can't get into it in this show. Anyway, thanks for coming. We are going to shut down our vehicle, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of FourWheelTech over at ohmtown.com. So go over and become a citizen, please. Be sure to like and subscribe on Twitch and YouTube. Download the podcast. Leave a 5-star review. Leave a review. Tell a friend. Set a dumpster on fire. No, just kidding. Don't do that. Anyway, thank you all for coming. I am out of here. I'm going to drive off down Main Street at rocket speeds, at McLaren speeds, and I'm going to take the AI with me. You want to say bye?
Bye-bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for this week's FourWheelTech. We'll have another episode for you next weekend, but come back tomorrow for our regular non sequitur news.
Bye bye.